So, for me, in the first fight, there's no doubt Joshua was submitted. I mean, at the end of the day, maybe he made too much money. Maybe there was no urgency there. He didn't act like there was urgency. He didn't act like it was important to behave like a fighter. He sure as hell didn't. Anyone sees it any different, they're a liar. Because we saw what we saw. And we know what we saw. He gave in. He gave in. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to go back. And people are going to say, well, Teddy, was he ever that good? Do we think that he was better than he was? No, he was that good. Where, Teddy? Because you forget real quick when a guy gets knocked off his pedestal. You start to say, oh, was he ever that good? Did we ever? Yeah, don't forget against Klitschko. He got off the floor against a really good right-hand puncher. He got off the floor and he knocked out Klitschko. What was the difference, Ken? I'll tell you what the difference was. The difference was probably $30, $40, $50 million in his bank account that he had when he fought Ruiz that he didn't have when he fought Klitschko. So less urgency. Less urgency in that area. And the other difference was when he fought Klitschko, he fought him. I always talk about geography inside the ring, where you fight. If you're a tall guy, fight on the outside. You're a short guy, fight on the inside. Who's got the geography going for them? Well, the geography outside the ring really was a big part for me in that fight against Klitschko, because that fight was in London. And when he got dropped in front of witnesses. He got dropped in front of people that live amongst him in London. And it was important in front of those witnesses. He knows he's got to live with those people. He knows he's going to see those people. He's going to hear those people. So he knew how he had to behave. When he got knocked out by Joshua, all those millions of dollars, knocked out by Ruiz, all those millions of dollars in his bank account later, it was in Madison Square Garden. No witnesses. No witnesses. The London people not right there. It's a little different for that moment under pressure, that maybe you think you can allow yourself to behave in a way that you never would have allowed yourself to behave at home. And he did. I think now I know the fight's in Saudi Arabia. I know it's not in London. But I also know that he knows, he being Joshua, he knows the reality of what he did now. The reality hadn't hit him in Madison Square Garden when he quit. He submitted. He gave in. He didn't behave the way we want fighters to behave, the way that we believe they should behave, to find a way to overcome, to not give in, to go out on your shield. And I don't want nobody hurt, but that's how we want him to behave. Let's be honest here. He didn't behave that way. And he knows the ramifications of it now. I believe that Roberto Duran, when he said no mas that time against Leonard, I believe when he did that, he didn't understand the ramifications. If he understood what was going to happen after that, he never would have said no mas. Never. He wasn't in the best of shape that night. He wasn't in the shape he was the first time. All those things. But if he knew the ramifications, he didn't. He thought he could get away with it. Same thing to Joshua on that canvas, and then getting up and falling and just giving in the way he did, where the referee stopped it in the corner in Madison Square Garden that night. He didn't understand the ramifications. He didn't understand what that was going to lead to. He didn't understand the way people were going to react to that. He really didn't. He does now. He does now. So it's not about money anymore. It's about strength. It's about being who you want to be if you want to be able to live the rest of your life in comfort. Not the comfort that millions of dollars will bring you by being able to choose any car you want and being able to live in the biggest bed you want, in the biggest house you want, in the best neighborhood. But comfort in being able to walk down the street and knowing that people will respect you. that people will not snarl and hoot at you, that your children someday will not hear things in school that are derogatory, that they will hear the things that any proud father would want their children to hear. That's what this fight's about now, and that's powerful. And yeah, Ruiz has fast hands, especially for a big guy, and but let's not forget, he also was on the floor. It's so easy to forget that before he stopped Joshua, he was on the floor. He got caught. He was down. That can happen again. And let's not forget, from my point of view, putting on my trainer's hat, Ruiz throws wide punches. He got away with it because Joshua stood too straight up and he was defensive. And those punches got through when he was standing straight up as that stationary target. But they were still wide. There are opportunities for a jab to go in between them. There are opportunities for a right hand to go in between a left hook. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at everything. But I'm counting more on this. I'm counting on the soul. I'm counting on the spirit. I'm not counting on just this and this and this and being less of a target. Yeah, all those things. Yes, they're important. But I'm talking about something more important. I'm talking about how Joshua wants to feel the rest of his life as a person, as a man. How he wants to be thought about, talked about. I'm going to say that that's more powerful than any left hook that Ruiz can throw at him again. I'm going to go with redemption. I'm going to go with Joshua getting his title back, winning this fight in Saudi Arabia, and remembering what he forgot. How to behave like a fighter. Remembering how he behaved that night with Klitschko when there were witnesses and behaved the same way. And when I say with witnesses, I'm going to use another, for you, my friend, another television analogy. Remember that great movie, The Godfather?
Of course.
And then the second one, very rarely is a sequel as good if not better. Godfather 2. Remember the scene in the courtroom when they got him in front of Congress. They got Michael Corleone, and they're going through all the testifying and everything in the Congress, in the courtroom with all the senators asking questions, and they got the guy who turned into a rat. That's a shame. I felt so bad because I love Frankie Pantangela. Frankie Five Angels. Where do you get a nickname like Frankie Five Angels? I'm going to come up with a nickname for you, Ken. But I got to give it some thought. I got to give it some thought because it's got to be right. It's got to really be powerful. It's got to be fitting. And Frankie Five Angels was in there, and he's going to testify against. And they told him, they said, tomorrow we're going to come back, and Mr. Corleone, you may have opened yourself up to many counts of perjury. We're coming back. We're going to have a witness that's going to refute everything you said here today. So they come back the next day and they bring in Frankie Five Angels' brother from Sicily. And Frankie Five Angels behaved differently. He didn't behave like a rat anymore.
Yep.
He behaved like a man. Really, if you're going to do that stuff, live by it. You're going to be a freaking gangster? Hey, I don't condone that. But live like one. Behave like one. That you're supposed to be able to stand up. Supposedly. Very few do. But supposedly, behave like one. He wasn't behaving like one. But when a witness came there, his brother, who he didn't want to see him behave that way in front of, he didn't want his brother to see that. He became strong. He did what he had to do. Now, I think the same thing. Yeah, I know it's not in London. I said it already. But he already knows people saw him behave bad. Joshua. He wants to behave good now.
Yep.
He wants to behave better now. Like a fighter. And I think that he's going to change the story like Frankie Five Angels did. He's going to change his story. And he's going to go in there and he's going to remember how to act like a fighter. I'm going with Joshua and redemption.
How's it end?
After that, you want an ending too, boy. You want everything. You want it all. How, God Almighty! I thought you'd be satisfied just with the win, my friend. All right. I'm gonna say that it wins with Joshua dropping Ruiz, putting him on the floor again. But Ruiz battles back, gets into the late rounds, and Joshua stops him late. How's that?
That's perfect. Well, Teddy, thanks for doing this. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Please, in between your rounds of turkey and whatever else you're having for Thanksgiving, make sure you supplement with some athletic greens. Thanks again, Teddy. All the best to you and your family.